Did I set my timer? This is so professional how I do this. Make sure my microphone is plugged in. Check, check. One, two. Excuse me. What's going on, my fellow fart knockers and dillweeds? How did I forget? I almost went dillweed. All right, let's redo that. Hey, what's going on, my fellow fart knockers and dillweeds? It's Ant Master 5 with you, coming at you with episode 11 of the Gen X Locker. Where am I? Somewhere 8 feet underground at the base of the Catskill Mountains. What's so special about Baskin? He's a grown up. Movie? Yes? No? Anybody? Hands? Yes, you in the front. Was it Big with Tom Hanks in 1988? Yes. To the guy in the plaid shirt with the tape on his glasses. Big, 1988. Great, great movie. This isn't what the episode is about, but the reason why I reference that movie, two reasons. A, Tom Hanks is a 13-year-old kid that gets transformed into like a 30 some odd year, whatever. But Captain Yellow Shirt, I was 13 in 1988. So that's why that movie always hits home. The second reason why is because this episode is nicely titled Music Lessons. Why am I using quotes for that? I don't know. Because I said, am I going to call it music lessons, childhood music lessons, after school music lessons? You know where I'm going with this. But that iconic scene in Big when him, Tom Hanks, and Robert Loggia are, how do I always say his name? Loggia, Robert Loggia. Sounds like my dad saying it. They're at FAO Schwartz in Manhattan, over by Times Square, like 33rd Street. Anyway, and they're on the giant keyboard on the floor there, and they start playing Heart and Soul and Chopsticks. And right when they start playing, uh, Robert Loggia says to Tom Hanks, "Piano lessons." He's like, 3 years. He goes, "Me too. Every day after school." So, which brings us to episode 11 of the Gen X Locker, music lessons. So, how many times have I said, so I grew up on Long Island and yeah, okay. Well, anyway, as most of you kids know, I grew up in a pretty suburban neighborhood of Long Island. And I don't want to say I came from a musical family at all. My mother loved music. My mother was pretty much a fan of music. She liked doo-wop. She liked old school rock and roll. Her calling card is she graduated high school in 1955. So we can talk about film right there. Back to the Future. Marty went back to 1955. Not that my mom and dad met at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance or anything like that. But the music of that era, that's what my mom was into, Buddy Holly and Elvis and uh, why did I just draw a blank? Marvin Berry, Chuck Berry, and the old school rockabilly, that came out of that era, Richie Valens, and stuff like that. But then, like I said, she also kind of transcended into those the Four Tops, the Four Seasons, Frankie Valley, Frankie Avalon, Frankie Valley, and the Four Seasons. And who was the guy that I always said she got my name from? Little Anthony and the Imperials. Yeah, okay. So stuff like that. But my mom had a good head for music, and she wasn't into like what we were into. When I say we, I mean the three kids, me, my brother, and my sister, and the age gap between us. I'm the baby. Ant Master 5 is the baby. My brother, rest his soul, being 10 years older than me, and my sister being 9 years older than me. Uh, my brother and sister and I had a few common threads. Two of them are up there right now. ZZ Top and Journey. Even though I never listen to ZZ Top, you're a liar. That would be my sister. My brother was pretty big, into Journey, ZZ Top. Um, and Brian Adams, that was another weird one. My mom called All of this, and I quote, do you remember? Anything that the kids were into, anything. And it could have been anything. It could have been heavy metal, rock, pop, hip hop. To my mom, it was all Mau Mau music. I don't know what that meant, but my mom called it Mau Mau music. Yeah, you're that damn Mau Mau music. Ah. Uh, my dad later on started to get into like country crossover and stuff like that. But like other than that, like he listened to like Italian opera. And neither of my parents ever played an instrument. Never. The most my dad could do. My dad could whistle like a son of a bitch. I'll give him that. Neither of them had any musical skill. I don't think either of them ever picked up a friggin' instrument in their lives. But with that being said, I'll give my parents credit where it's due. They were very encouraging with me, my brother, and my sister picking up an instrument. So all three of us started with piano. We'll start with my brother. My brother started with piano. He didn't like it. He went to drums and he stuck with drums. My brother stuck with drums for a while until like, I'm going to say like early 20s. Then I don't know what happened. He was just like, it's not going to, it's not going to pan out. And I don't know if he had like, hopes and aspirations of becoming a session drummer, but it almost was kind of like, well, if it's not going to put any money in my pocket, you know, the my sister my sister kind of stuck with piano lessons, um, but she didn't really, huh? Yeah, yeah. So my brother actually took drum lessons. That was my point. He left piano, went to drum lessons. I'm sure he did. I'm sure there was always snacks. My brother took drum lessons in Franklin Square at a. You gonna say it?
There's always room for Jello.
There's always room for Jello. Orange. Anyway, how are we gonna do this? When your producer gives you Jello. Ah, well, oh yeah, that's gonna be great. With the whipped cream, it tastes like an orange creamsicle. So no, John took lessons at Al Marino, a place called Marino Music in Franklin Square. And anyway, he stuck with that. Like I said, my sister stuck with piano lessons. And then she probably bowed out of piano lessons sometime around middle school. The common thread, we all started with piano. We all had the same piano teacher, Mrs. Mary Pirro. Now, when my brother and sister had Mrs. Pirro come into the house, she she was already in her friggin' 80s. By the time I got to piano lessons, she she was sharp as a tack on the piano. She was classically trained. I believe she attended Juilliard. She really was. I mean, honest to God, I could always remember her fingers just being just crypt keeper, crypt keeper fingers, just these bony digits. I always called them those are piano hands, because they were long and just man and just veins everywhere. A little creepy. This was a great idea to have a snack. And by the time I by the time I started taking lessons, Mrs. Piero was pretty much on her game. She knew everything about the lesson plan, everything on the piano, and we're going to do, an E minor chord, and we're going to do a D scale and a C scale, and so forth and so on. Except she started showing up at the wrong times. One time she parked on the lawn, and then one February afternoon, she came to the house, and it was my scheduled lesson. And my mom called her Mary. She was Mrs. Pirro to me. My mom was like, "Oh, come on in, Mary." And she had on this black sweater, and we had a wood stove and everything was always hot in the house. And she's like, "Oh, would you mind, Marie? I'm gonna take off my sweater." I said, "Oh, no problem." And she took off her sweater and she was wearing, like one of those blouses, up to your neck with a brooch, one of them. But uh on that particular day, Mrs. Pirro had her bra on the outside of her blouse. And my mom was like, "Oh, okay." That was the beginning of the end. And then, like I said, she started showing up on the wrong days and then like going to the neighbor's house. And yeah, it was whatever. So yeah, that's just bowed out gracefully. My mom had to drive her home. Yeah, though that was the day she parked on the lawn. Yeah, she went right up over the curb on the front lawn, almost hit the Japanese umbrella tree. My mom was like, "Oh, okay, okay, man. I'm going to take you home." And my mother was friends with her next door neighbor, Gloria, who had a cat phobia. Anyway, she wouldn't come in the house unless we secured our cat in the bedroom. Go to hell. I wouldn't have let that chick in the house. I'm getting off topic here. Anyway, so I kind of wanted to take violin. So I did that in school. If I lasted a year, I'm shooting high. So then that stopped. Then I wanted to go back to piano. Now, Mrs. Pirro by this time is resting comfortably in Shady Acres. So my sister's friend Nancy gave me lessons. I don't know. I just lost interest. I did. And I started doing chorus in school. So I stuck with chorus. I was always in chorus. I was in chorus like, up into high school, up into high school. But then like there was the band, like the high school bands. You had orchestra and band. And I didn't, I wasn't picking up on anything. And I mean, I thought about it. I thought maybe I'll play the fucking tuba. But Johnny, Brandon, if you're hope you're watching this episode. And I didn't play tuba. And I thought about drums, but like my brother already got into drums and then he was out of drums. There was no more drum set in the house because he gave the old set to our cousin Bruce. And for those of you that don't know, yes, I really have a cousin Bruce, and he's not cousin Brucey. So all of you that just went, "We make it easy," he's probably heard it a million times, just like I heard the Prince Spaghetti Wednesday shit. So moving right along. So I remember like, kind of thinking about, do I want to play something? And then my best friend growing up, uh, Steven, Steve, Steve started playing guitar. Steve started playing guitar right around when the movie Big came out. So when your best friend does something, you follow suit. It's just like a given. He got a blowgun. I had to get a blowgun so I could shoot people in the ass. Uh, he got laser tag. I had to get laser tag. I got ColecoVision. He got Actually no, I got Nintendo. Then he got Nintendo. So it was like everything. You did everything together. He's your best friend. So he started playing guitar. And I remember he started taking guitar lessons. I don't remember. He started taking guitar lessons at Catalano's Music on Jericho Turnpike. Why are you nodding? I knew you were going to say Jordan Catalano. And no, I started talking with my mouth full. No, it had nothing to do with Jordan Catalano or that show, My So-Called Life. Would you mind if I get back to my so-called episode?
Jordan Catalano was a musician. And
I know. I know. He played guitar or bass. He played guitar, right?
yeah.
He's 30 seconds to Jupiter, right? Anyway, so Steve took guitar lessons at Catalano's Music, and I remember he got an acoustic guitar, nylon string. He didn't have it for that long. Then his parents bought him an electric. Not long after that, I'm talking only months. He got a Dean guitar at at J.C. Penney or Sears. Sears, got it at Sears, and it came with like an amp that was as big as this coaster. It's probably like a 10-watt amp. And I was enamored. I was like, you know. So of course I waited a little bit, and then I asked my mom, "Can I take guitar?" No, it was there was no convincing my mother that I was taking guitar lessons. Of all people, who carried the torch for Ant Master 5? My dad. My dad actually turned around and said, "Hey, you want to take guitar lesson? Let him take guitar. Take guitar lesson." I don't know. He didn't stick with violin. He didn't stick with piano. And I was like, well, piano's not portable. You're not going to be at somebody's house and you're out in the backyard, you're all around a campfire and you go, you mind if I go out to the van and whip out my Steinway? No, I mean, and, maybe violin is a bit more, a bit more portable, but, when you're, you know, cusping into the early teenage years and the hormones start raging, a violin ain't going to get you chicks. Guitars are. That's that was the whole thing with you and I. It was all about guitar, right? One day I'll learn how to play. So, with that being said, my mom agreed. Uh, my sister's fiance at the time let me borrow his acoustic, and I went to take lessons at Marino Music, the same place my brother took lessons for drums, because this guy did drums and guitar. Now he was booked, Al. He couldn't give me guitar lessons, but one of his employees, her name was Kimberly, she was my guitar teacher. Eh. She taught me the basics. When I mean basics, I mean, oh, look, we have a perfect prop. She taught me guitar A&P. And I don't mean this is what she taught. These are the only things that I retained from the lessons. She taught me guitar A&P. These are the frets, these are the strings, these are the pickups, this is the body, that's the headstock, you know, just kind of that stuff. And then I learned chords. I was just well adapting to chords, if you will. I was adapting well to chords. I wasn't adapting well to like note for note for note, like, this is B, this is E, this is C, this is D. But, play me a D chord, play me a G chord, you know. So I kind of realized then I was probably leaning into rhythm guitar, but I was sticking with it. And then I was learning a lot from Steve, so we'd be at his house after school and he'd be like, "Oh, check this out. I learned the beginning of Sweet Child of Mine." Now I have to learn that, and I stuck with it. Strangely enough, I stuck with it. Um, there was really no guitar application in school. I remember having music class, uh, but not like the music class where we did an instrument, like each part of the syllabus was an instrument. Like I remember xylophone being in there, and whatever it was, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it was. We did an instrument each year of the curriculum. That was with Mr. Oh my God, what was his name? I always want to say Manure, but it was like McNor, Mr. McNor. Audie, if you're watching, Mr. McNor, McNor. Um, so I don't know what class that was I had. There wasn't a lot of us in there. Huh? Audie, what? Fast. No, two guys. All right, we'll go back. I said, ask your mom. All right. So no, the only person I remember in that class, like specifically, was Jason Altman. I don't know why. All right. But anyway, there was a guitar unit and they all passed out guitars. And hey, give me that white thing on top of my amp over here. See that? See that white thing? I don't want to say what it is. Yeah, that. So when we took guitar, uh, I remember I was all psyched. Monday, I came in, I put something in my pocket. And then when we did, day one of guitar, I have a pick because I play guitar and I know three fucking chords. Anyway, but that was it. That was like the only, like, I guess I could say technical application of guitar in school until I decided that I wanted to start a band. My friend Walter, uh, Walt Zinzian, we used to call him Wally Z. Uh, Z played drums. Uh, my friend Vinny played bass. Steve played guitar, but Vinny kind of wanted nothing to do with us because at that time I was a little bit more into like glam metal. And Vinny was all about like, Metallica and Anthrax, Megadeth, Overkill, Megadeth, who I'm seeing Friday. And so yeah, there was no I don't think there was any real bona fide practice sessions with Vinny. And then there was this other girl named Catherine that played keyboards. And I was like, well, maybe we should get her in. Why? Because, what if we want to cover the final countdown? Uh, is that where is that? Okay. And I decided to name I decided to name the band Thrasher. And I even remember how I wrote it. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Anyway, and it really didn't it kind of just phased out. Me and Walter, every once in a while we played, like we jammed, on his drum set. And
Mhm.
yeah, on Dave Mustaine's birthday. Well, for food about it. And but it was great. And my original plan, but this will just give me agita, was to wash it down with a yoo-hoo. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Uh so nothing ever, like I said, nothing ever really materialized. 10th grade, Stephen and I parted ways. That's a topic for another episode. And that was it. I just play guitar on my own. Uh,
And
you had a jazz band. Did you slap the bass in the high school jazz band?
they had jazz band. They had, regular band and they had jazz band.
What did she play?
She played the clarinet and the saxophone.
Okay. Moving right along. I want pictures of that. Uh, so, I still played. Um, I then got my own acoustic. I got my acoustic for my confirmation present. It was a Yamaha FG 400. My mom bought it for me at Sam Ash Music. And then right before I moved up to the base of the Catskill Mountains, I bought my first real electric guitar by a company called Vester, Vester. They are now since out of business. Took a chance thinking, hey, man, someday back in time, somebody walked into a music store and they were like, hey, what's that thing called a Gibson? Yeah, it's this new company. That's what I thought I was doing, but I I didn't that didn't work out that way. So you can Google Vesture guitars and they looked good. They had a Floyd Rose tremo on them, the whammy bar thing, but whatever. Um so yeah, so that was it. I came up here and kind of, just played solo, immersed myself in solo things. There was a punk band in my new high school. I was asked if I wanted to jam at like a practice. By that time, I was definitely immersing myself in a lot of Metallica and stuff like that. It's like my guitar playing was really Hetfield esque, like a lot of bottom end crunch power chords, stuff like that. That wasn't mixing well. They were listening to like, the Cramps and yeah, no, like, the Sex Pistols and bands like Nitzer Ebb, even like what? No, that's too early. Um, no real pop punk. Well, you know what? Yeah, they did listen to this one band. You might have heard of them called Green Day, but Green Day was not on the circuit at that point. They only like Dookie wasn't out. They like had this EP called Kerplunk. That their fan base is like, hello, why are you buying Dookie Kerplunk? So and that didn't pan out. Gene, my buddy Gene, he had a band. I rehearsed with them. That didn't pan out. And I was like, man, nothing's panning out. And I was like, I'm just gonna fly solo. So then, stuck with it. I mean, I still didn't put my guitar down. And then college, I met these two kids that were twins, Kevin and Kyle. One played bass, one played bass, one played drums. So we started a three-piece band. Then Eddie and I were gonna start a band. We were gonna do a two-piece acoustical jam that we were gonna be called Mindscape. Eddie from the realms of rock, the realms of metal. Yeah, shout out to him. I always link his store right here in the description. Check him out. He's got some great stuff, and really great stuff: vinyl, CDs, cassettes, and accessories. Uh, that didn't pan out, like I said. So I kind of did the thing with Kyle and Kevin, and then Kevin had an acoustic bass, and I was like, "Hey, let's do something unplugged." And then we started doing that, and then one of them got the idea that they should move out to the West Coast and move to Seattle because that's where the music was happening. Excuse me, in 93, 94. And then that disbanded. Then just a couple of side projects. Me and my buddy Sam, uh, who I just talked to the other night, actually. Now I should actually send you the link. And his parents were really musical. That was probably the first musical family I ever remember. His parents were immigrants from Thailand, and you know they had like they lived in a studio. Their fucking house. There was like a drum set in the living room. There was keyboards. There was guitars. There was basses. You know that was like wow. They were the Thai version of the Partridge Family. You know, and so like me and him did something kind of like a two-piece thing, and then me and his brother did something two-piece thing. Never really ever panned out. Fast forward to the ex, who totally discouraged that I play anything. And fast forward to 2010, right? Me and my friend Derek, we started a thing with Ian, two drums. Yeah, that'd be funny. Two guitars, drummer, and then just like the summer of '69, Jimmy quit and Joey got married. Ian moved down south and got married. Derek moved to Brooklyn, then moved down south. So there I was, just me and my guitar. So I went solo and, just started doing what I wanted to do in college because I got obsessed with MTV's Unplugged, and I saw Nirvana's you know Unplugged, and then Alice in Chains, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So, basically just said, yeah, acoustic, electric, strip it down, and I'll just I'll just play. And I've been doing it ever since. So besides the Gen X Locker, your host Ant Master 5 also plays live. And actually I just put a video up of me doing an acoustic cover of Talk Dirty to Me by Poison. Oh, will you look what the cat dragged in. So that's my story of musical lessons and what it led into. What do you guys do? I mean, right now, are you sitting there looking at this episode, say, you know what? I just want to whip out my recorder right now and blast out a quick version of Three Blind Mice. And why did they fucking call it a recorder? Did you start out with guitar? Did you start out with violin? Did you start out with piano? Orchestra, viola, violin, and then what were the other in the band? You had French horn. Well, back in my old high school, we did. We had orchestra and band, and like band was the woodwinds and orchestra was the orchestra was the string instruments. So I'd like to know from you, if you are a musician today, shred beard. I'm just giving you a nod. Did you always start out with guitar? Inquiring minds would like to know. Yeah. So I was gonna say, can you hand me that? But I know you're probably gonna take it off the rack and then bump into everything, and then the straps. I won't. Yeah. And then I'm dabbling in bass again. Why? I don't know. So you can always email me at the Gen X Locker at outlook.com. Leave a comment, leave a like and subscribe. I'm on the Facebook, I'm on the Instagram, and I'm kind of on the X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Except I couldn't get it to do the Gen X Locker because it just came up as Antmaster 5. But You know who I am. So that does it, kids, for episode 11. I appreciate you being here. And I'm just going to go over here to end my episode because, we don't edit on the Gen X Locker, but almost. I do want to hear from you. If you are a musician or if you're a former musician, how'd you begin? Was it childhood lessons? That's what I'd like to know. So until then, I bid you adieu and be excellent to one another and peace. And I think I'm ending it now.